All right, Jim's up. Jim, what's up, man? He says, what's up, SM gang? I have two questions about service area business listings. I have a client that has a hidden address, residential address, now that mailbox services are no longer allowed on their Google My Business listing. The business model requires a lot of packages to be sent to and from their UPS store mailbox address. Example, non-local clients pay online and ship items to the mailbox for repairs. Okay, would it cause inconsistency issues if the mailbox address was used in their citations and on their website? When using maps to localize their business, should the center of the city be used as the destination address? This is another tricky one. All right, I have to read through this again, guys. I have a client that has a hidden address, residential address. Okay, I get that. So they're set up as a service area business is what you're telling me, right? Their business model requires a lot of packages to be sent to and from their UPS store mailbox address. Would it cause inconsistency issues if the mailbox address was used in their citations and on their website? Well, I wouldn't use it in their citations because that's not where the business is located. You can put the address on the website as long as you designate or specify the fact that it's the mailing address. You can have a separate physical address and a mailing address. Does that make sense? And I think I haven't had to do this yet, but I think you can actually specify that in schema, can't you, Marco?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have postal address and then like a physical location. I don't remember what I usually just use the postal address type, schema type for the physical location of the business, because that's just the way that I typically do it. But I believe that there's postal address and then there's some other type of designation in schema for like the actual physical location. So, you know, that's something I would do because I don't know. I mean, I would not use the postal address, the mailing address for citations if that's not what the GMB physical location is tied to, because then you're going to cause NAP issues, data inconsistency that can actually hurt your maps rankings. Does that make sense? You want to try to clarify on that at all?
No, I mean, that's what I get from it. And you will cause inconsistency issues if you go change, especially since Google has you tied to, I mean, Google knows the centroid. Yeah. Wherever you are, you submitted the address when you start. You just told Google to hide the address. We've seen this, as a matter of fact, when you take over another GMB, but that centroid is tied to another niche, like, and Google knows, and then you're trying to disambiguate one from the other, it can get really difficult. So you don't ever want to do that.
Yeah, because like here's the thing, like this, I'm just trying to show you something here. Right here, there's coordinates in the URL. Mm-hmm. And you know, I've had people ask me, well, how come the coordinates in my GMB map URL, so the coordinates that are in the actual URL, don't jive with where my business is located? And the reason why is because on service area businesses, and this is what my understanding is, I don't have any definitive, like I never found this anywhere. I just kind of discovered this on my own. But if we're going to go to like latlong.net, for example, I think it's latlong.net. Yes, this is it. All right, so you guys see, like I've got United States set up as a service area for Big Bamboo Marketing, right? Does that make sense? So, but I'm located in Culpeper. My GMB is located to an address in Culpeper. But what I'm trying to show you is if we click in here, if we take these latitude and longitude coordinates that is in the Google Map URL and we click find, shit, maybe I have to do it the other way. Yeah, there's a reverse tool somewhere that does this. But what I was trying to demonstrate here without spending a lot of time on it is that these coordinates right here are going to be right in the center around here somewhere. If I find the correct tool, I could actually do it. There's got to be a fucking
reverse IP,
reverse or something. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, my point is that Google, if it's a service area business, then Google is going to put the coordinates of what it determines is the center point of the service area that you specified in your GMB. That's going to be the coordinates that show in your URL, the GMB map URL. Does that make sense? So it's not the coordinates of the location. It's what it considers the center of your specified service area. Does that make sense? I don't know if that does or not, but hopefully it does.
No, Google knows the centroid. It knows where the business is. It knows when you submitted it where the business is.
Right. Right. And that's what, I mean, that's why I was getting at that, was because I told Google when I set up the Google My Business profile, right, and I had to verify it, where the business is physically located. That does not coincide with what Google shows as the coordinate in the map URL. It's way, way off in this case, because I have a very large service area, the United States. Mm-hmm. Even with like clients, for example, that have, you know, like let's just say it's just in a citywide service area, right, for just one city. Well, they might be like on the far east side of the, or whatever, the far east, far west side of the city, one side of the other, and that's where they're physically located. But the coordinates within their map URL as a service area business are going to show the center of that city or close to it if that was the only service area that was selected. So that's why I'm saying Google knows where it is. You don't want to try to, you know, try to spoof that, because it will start to cause NAP issues that will affect your maps ranking. Okay.
Yep.
So, see, when using maps to localize their business, should the center of the city be used as the destination address? No. Again, the destination would be where, like, localize their business. It depends on what you're trying to do. Again, if you're just telling people like what the mailing addresses of the mail store, then that's, you know, just make sure you specify that very clearly, that that's the mailing address. As far as like, if you got a service area business, that's something here's like, for example, if you're generating driving directions for a service area business to try to create local relevancy, then you can create driving directions from the coordinates of where your location really truly is, if you wanted to. But if you don't want to give away, like through the driving directions itself, like what, because you can put the address in for driving directions, or you can put coordinates in, which is what I typically will do, is put in coordinates so that the driving directions map doesn't actually show the address. Of course, anybody that spent a moment just looking, they could figure out what that address is. But it shows in the driving directions from a coordinate as opposed to an actual listed address, if that makes sense. But you can, if you don't want to do that, even because you want to hide the actual location, then you could just select a coordinate from city center of your service area and use that as your driving directions to the various parts that you're trying to expand into, like the other, you know, locations where you're driving. So you're driving from the business to the location. And for service area businesses, that's typically how I will do driving directions, right? If it's a storefront, then you do driving directions from the areas that you want to expand the maps coverage into back to the location, which is, you know, because your customers come to that location. So just for service area businesses, like I said, you can either use the coordinates and create like, and I'm just using that as an example, but to create driving directions from the coordinates of where the business is located. So you're not showing the address. But if that is something you still don't want to even do that, then you can find the like city center coordinates for that area and use those as the driving directions from that location to the areas that you want to expand the maps coverage into. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. I probably just muddied it all up.